Your phone says you've arrived, but you're not at a restaurant or a friend's house. You're staring into the pitch-black mouth of a forest with no roads, no lights, no people. The GPS insists this is your destination. Your heart starts pounding. You try to turn around, but now your phone shows no signal. You're trapped, and something in those trees is watching you. This happened to 5 people, and what they discovered will make you never trust your GPS again. Welcome to Velvet Screams, where we explore the darkest corners of true horror. I'm your guide through the shadows, bringing you real stories from real people who lived through nightmares. If this is your first time here, subscribe now, because tonight we're diving into something that could happen to anyone with a smartphone. These aren't ghost stories. These are technology nightmares. 5 people followed their GPS into the woods at night. Only luck and instinct kept them alive. Let's begin. Michael was driving home from a work conference, a 3-hour trip he'd made dozens of times before. But tonight, he was running late and exhausted. When his GPS offered a faster route that would cut 40 minutes off his drive, he didn't hesitate. He tapped accept. The screen showed a route through back roads he'd never heard of. Within 20 minutes, the highway disappeared behind him. The road narrowed. Street lights vanished. Trees closed in on both sides. The GPS showed he was still on course, but something felt wrong. The road became gravel, then dirt. His headlights revealed nothing but trees pressing closer and closer. Michael checked his phone. No signal. He tried to turn around, but the road was too narrow. Then his GPS spoke again, in that calm, emotionless voice it always used. "You have arrived at your destination." Michael stopped the car. He was in the middle of a forest. No houses, no lights, no destination. Just endless darkness and trees. Michael's heart raced. He put the car in reverse, but the GPS recalculated immediately. "Make a U-turn," it commanded. But there was nowhere to turn. The road had become a barely visible trail. That's when Michael noticed something in his rear-view mirror. A figure standing in the road behind him. Tall, motionless, watching. Michael's blood turned to ice. He slammed the gas pedal, lurching forward on the dirt trail. Branches scraped his car. The GPS kept recalculating. The figure disappeared from his mirror. For 20 terrifying minutes, Michael drove through that forest, following a trail that barely existed. His car bounced over roots and rocks. Then finally, he saw it. A real road, pavement, street lights. He burst out of the woods onto a highway he recognized. He pulled over, shaking. When he checked his GPS history later, the route didn't exist. The road wasn't on any map. And when he searched satellite images of that forest,
he found something chilling. A cluster of abandoned buildings deep in those woods.
People had lived there once, a community that disappeared decades ago. But someone or something was still there, and the GPS had tried to take him directly to it. Michael never used that GPS app again, and he never drives at night without checking his route on multiple sources first. Because that figure in the road, he knows it was real, and he knows that if his car had stalled, if he'd gotten stuck in that forest, he never would have made it out. Some routes aren't meant to be found. Some destinations don't want visitors.
Sarah and her boyfriend planned a camping trip in a state forest. They'd booked a campsite online, received confirmation, and followed the GPS coordinates provided. It should have been simple. But when they arrived at the coordinates after a 2-hour drive, there was no campsite, no parking lot, no ranger station, just a narrow dirt road leading into dense woods. The GPS insisted they'd arrived. Sarah's boyfriend suggested they drive deeper to find it. That's when everything went wrong. They followed the dirt road for 15 minutes. Trees became thicker, darker. The sun was setting fast. Then the road just stopped. Dead end. But their GPS still showed the campsite marker right where they were parked. Sarah got out to look around. That's when she noticed the tire marks, fresh tracks in the dirt, multiple vehicles. Someone had been here recently. But there were no people, no tents, no signs of camping, just those tire tracks leading into the woods on footpaths too narrow for cars.
Sarah's boyfriend called out, but only silence answered. The forest felt wrong, too quiet. No birds, no insects, nothing. Sarah insisted they leave immediately. As they turned the car around, she glanced into the woods one more time. That's when she saw them. People. At least 4 or 5 figures standing between the trees, perfectly still, watching them. They weren't dressed like campers. They wore dark clothes, and their faces were obscured by shadows. Sarah screamed at her boyfriend to drive. He didn't ask questions. They sped back down that dirt road, and Sarah watched through the rear window as the figures stepped onto the road behind them, still not moving quickly, just walking slowly, methodically, as if they knew the car couldn't escape fast enough. It took 30 minutes to reach the main highway again. When they reported the incident to the Park Service, rangers told them something disturbing. There was no campsite at those coordinates. There never had been. The reservation Sarah made was through a fake website. Someone had lured them there.
The rangers found the fake site and shut it down, but they never found the people Sarah saw in the woods. The tire tracks were real. Investigators theorized it was a trap for isolated travelers. The GPS coordinates were designed to bring people to that exact spot, far from help. Sarah and her boyfriend were lucky. They trusted their instincts and left. But how many others followed those coordinates and didn't leave? How many responded to fake camping reservations and drove into those woods, never to drive out again? James was driving through rural Pennsylvania late at night, heading to his sister's wedding the next morning. Traffic was light, the road was straight, and he was making good time. Then his GPS suddenly announced, "Detour ahead. Proceed to highlighted route." James looked at his screen. A new blue line appeared, directing him off the highway onto a side road. He hadn't seen any construction signs, but the GPS was insistent. He took the exit. That was his first mistake. The side road was dark and winding, cutting through thick forest. James figured it would reconnect to the highway in a few miles, but after 10 minutes, the road got narrower. Then it turned to gravel. His GPS still showed the blue detour route, but James saw no signs, no other cars, no indication this was an official detour. He tried to use his phone to verify the route, but he had no signal. Then his GPS spoke again. "In 1 mile, your destination will be on the right." Destination? He wasn't near his destination yet. James slowed down, confused. He hadn't entered a new destination. His GPS should still be directing him to his sister's house 200 miles away. But the screen now showed he was approaching some unmarked point in the forest. His headlights caught something ahead, a structure. An old building, partially collapsed, surrounded by overgrown trees. His GPS announced, "You have arrived." James felt cold dread wash over him. This wasn't a detour. This was a trap. He threw the car into reverse and backed up frantically. As he reversed, his headlights swept across the building again. This time, he saw movement. A door opening, figures emerging. James didn't wait to see more. He spun the car around and drove back the way he came, pushing his car as fast as the narrow road allowed. His GPS went haywire, recalculating over and over, trying to redirect him back to that building. James ignored it. After what felt like an eternity, he found the highway again. He pulled over and checked his GPS. The detour route was gone. It no longer existed on the map. James reported it to police. They investigated, but found only the abandoned building, long forgotten and supposedly empty. No evidence of anyone living there. But James knows what he saw. Someone had reprogrammed his GPS or hacked into it somehow, creating a fake detour to lure him into that forest. Experts later told him it's possible to spoof GPS signals, to create false routes that appear legitimate. It's rare, but documented, and it's used by people who want to make travelers disappear. James drives with his GPS off now. He trusts paper maps instead. Amanda was driving home after visiting family in another state. It was close to midnight, and she'd been on the road for hours. She relied completely on her GPS because she didn't know this area. Then, without warning, her GPS rerouted her off the highway. Faster route available, it announced. Amanda was tired and just wanted to get home, so she followed the new route. The road took her through a forest, dark, winding, unfamiliar. But the GPS showed she'd save 30 minutes. After 15 minutes, Amanda noticed something strange. She passed the same tree formation twice, a distinctive cluster of 3 bent trees. She thought she was imagining it, but then she passed it again and again. She was driving in a loop, but her GPS showed her moving forward on a straight route. Amanda stopped the car and tried to recalculate. The GPS froze. Then it reset and showed the same route. She was trapped in a navigation loop, driving in circles in the middle of a forest with no way to find the real road out. Amanda's fuel gauge was dropping. She'd been driving for over an hour in this loop, and she'd burned a quarter tank of gas going nowhere. Panic set in. She tried her phone, no signal. She tried turning off the GPS entirely and driving straight, but every road she took curved back to the same spot, the same 3 bent trees. That's when she realized this wasn't a glitch. Someone had created a trap, a GPS loop designed to strand drivers in this forest until they ran out of gas, until they had no choice but to abandon their car and walk. Amanda turned off her headlights and waited, watching. After 10 minutes, she saw lights in the distance, moving through the trees. Flashlights. At least 2 people walking slowly, checking the roads. They were looking for stranded drivers. Amanda held her breath and waited until the lights disappeared. Then she started her car and drove in the opposite direction, ignoring her GPS completely. She drove by instinct, following the widest roads until finally she saw a highway sign. She'd escaped, but just barely. Her gaslight was on. Amanda reported everything to police, but they found nothing. The loop she described didn't exist on any official map. Tech investigators analyzed her GPS device and found something horrifying. Someone had installed malware remotely, hijacking her navigation system. The malware created false maps, fake routes, trapping drivers in specific locations. Amanda's device wasn't the only one infected. Dozens of similar reports came in from that area. All drivers were rerouted into the same forest. Not all of them made it out. Some are still missing today. David was a truck driver with 15 years of experience. He'd driven every highway in the country and relied on his GPS for every trip. He trusted it completely. One night, hauling a load through Oregon, his GPS directed him onto a logging road. It wasn't unusual. Logging roads often served as shortcuts, but this one felt different. Too narrow, too dark. And then the GPS voice changed. It no longer sounded like the standard navigation voice. It sounded human. And it gave him instructions he'd never heard before. "Stop the truck," the voice said. Not "your destination is ahead" or "turn left." Just a command. Stop the truck. David felt ice run through his veins. This wasn't normal. He checked his GPS screen. It was glitching, showing static. But the voice continued. "Stop the truck now. Get out. Walk into the trees." David's hands tightened on the wheel. He didn't stop. He accelerated. The voice became angry. "Stop the truck, David. We're waiting for you. Stop the truck." It knew his name. That's when David realized this wasn't a malfunction. Someone had hacked his GPS and was speaking to him directly, trying to lure him out of his vehicle. David ripped the GPS unit off his dashboard and threw it into the back of the cab. But the voice didn't stop. It came from his phone now, still connected to Bluetooth. "You can't leave, David. Turn around. Come back. We need you to stop the truck." David turned off his phone, his radio, everything. He drove in complete silence, following road signs instead. After an hour, he reached a truck stop. He was shaking, covered in sweat. David never found out who hacked his GPS. Tech experts examined his devices, but couldn't trace the source. Whoever did it covered their tracks completely. But David learned something that terrified him. Truck drivers had been disappearing on that same logging road for years. Found abandoned with no signs of struggle, as if they'd simply gotten out and walked into the woods voluntarily. David believes they heard the same voice he did, the voice that knew their names, the voice that commanded them to stop. And unlike David, they obeyed. 5 people. 5 GPS nightmares.
All of them barely escaped with their lives because they trusted their instincts over technology. Michael saw the figure in the road. Sarah saw the watchers in the trees. James saw the trap building. Amanda broke the loop. David refused the voice. They survived because they questioned what their devices told them. But how many others didn't question it? How many followed their GPS into the woods and never came back? Next time your GPS offers a faster route through unfamiliar territory, ask yourself, is it really trying to help you? Thank you for watching Velvet Screams. If these stories made you think twice about blindly following your GPS, then they served their purpose. Technology is a tool, not a master. Always verify your routes. Always trust your instincts. And if something feels wrong, turn around. Don't become the next story we tell. Subscribe for more true horror stories that could happen to anyone. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Stay safe out there. And remember, not every destination is meant to be reached. Until next time, stay vigilant.